Let me start recording here. I've started recording and hopefully we should be getting some audio and everything going on. All right, great. Okay, hi Will, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, I'm great. I'm really excited to talk to you about to our at our Parquet show today. Will, you are, I believe, a real estate advisor at Leading Edge. Can you tell us what do you do exactly at Leading Edge?
So Leading Edge is where I first started real estate. I got my license, my real estate license, just salesperson's license. And then I started from there in Boston, started doing rentals. You can make pretty good money doing rentals. It's not like sales in that it's very high volume, less pay,
Right.
but very easy work. A good, just, a good way to get your foot in the door with real estate. I've transitioned out of that now, and I've started a company with three other guys that used to work at Leading Edge. And we're focusing on investment real estate now. But
All right.
yeah, that's where I'm at.
So what's the name of the company where would you have started?
It's called the Rawlings Company.
It's a Rawlings Company.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's my last name.
That's your last name, Will Rawlings here, right? So we've got the Rawlings
Yeah,
Company. Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect. So how did you like get it started into real estate? What about real estate that really fascinated you?
yeah, man. The, I mean, real estate by nature is still a very entrepreneurial business.
Right.
It's not, I don't know a single job. There are some jobs in real estate, I guess, like an analyst, that where you can get paid 9 to 5, but that's not really real estate. When you're actually involved in real estate, when you're really like doing real estate,
Right.
it's on your terms. You're making your own money, and you're being creative. It's very another great thing about it is it's a very interpersonal um,
Right.
um, field. It still hasn't been very digitalized. It still hasn't been very. It still hasn't gotten a lot of technology behind it. Zillow's doing some of that.
Right.
Parkaze is doing some of that. But for the most part, it's still very interpersonal, and that's something that I like too.
Oh, that's great. So what would you think is your biggest successes that you've had in the real estate industry? What have you learned the most?
So I guess at first with leading edge real estate, I learned just how to build people's trust.
Right.
People need to trust you when you're their agent. Um, People need to know that you know what's going on. I failed a lot. I remember the first time I went on a showing by myself, my hands were shaking. I
Right. Right.
couldn't get the key to the door. I had no idea what I was doing. But you learn, and you really learn how to, interact with people in a way that builds their trust. Most recently, though, with the whole like the Rawlings Company and taking it to the investment side of real estate, definitely our biggest win so far is acquiring our first investment property. And
Right.
it's actually in Atlanta. Um, that was a whole nother ball game.
Right.
That took a lot of, there's just a huge learning curve. There's so many different factors when you start investing in real estate
Right.
that aren't present in a normal, regular real estate transaction.
Great. Now that's really, I would say, a challenging task for you to take on now with your Rawlings Company.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, you went to Boston University for school.
Yeah,
So
I'm
what
actually still a senior. Oh, I have to finish my senior year there.
what exactly at Boston University have you learned that has helped you in your real estate industry? Any skills that you picked up, any courses, anything that you have learned or any networking?
Yeah, man. I'm not a very, academically oriented person.
Right.
Um, I'm not the kind of person that like is gonna put my, face in a book all day. Um, and I think, so what that means is that I'm more of a social person.
Right.
What I've learned some very valuable things at BU, but really what I've learned mostly is the networking. The networking at BU specifically is fantastic. They have a very diverse student population for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, so many different people to talk to, and in the business school especially, it's a very, very interactive social environment. So networking is the absolute biggest thing, and learning from people, learning about their culture, learning the way that they think, learning to work with people in teams is the biggest takeaway from BU so far.
That's awesome. That's great. So we're also BU alumni. I'm also a BU alumni. People who have created Parkaze are also BU alumni.
Yeah.
And Parkaze, what we're doing here is trying to create economic solutions towards parking in the city of Boston. So what do you think that in terms of parking and how something like Parkaze can help the real estate industry? How could there be a collaboration there? What do you think?
So Parkaze, I really like Parkaze. I've actually looked like quite a bit into it. Um, and I think that that's more of what we need. We need more technology in real estate
Right.
to make very old rudimentary processes more streamlined. So when you go to find a parking place, there are some, you know, places you can go, but they're not great.
Right.
Um, Agents use the MLS, the
Right.
multiple listing service, and people who aren't agents use Zillow quite a bit of times, or quite often, but they don't. Neither of those sites really have a consolidated database exclusively for parking. Um, I think it's great that Parkaze is working on building, an exclusive like MLS for parking, if you will.
Right.
Um, and the UI is something that specifically, just on a tangent, I think the UI is great
Yeah.
because I had a personal experience where I I found a parking space on the MLS, and I was like $125 a month in Boston, right beside BU. Snatched it up. Terrible mistake because they present it as just the space. You assume there's not going to be any issues getting in. Well, the entrance would barely fit my car, and then
Right.
you have to take a left. So one of the first times I was turning into that parking spot, I crunched the side of my car on a wall.
Oh no.
There's all these issues that you don't see.
Yeah.
So I think the way that Parkaze can really help the real estate industry the most would be just providing a level of transparency
Right.
and accessibility that Zillow does for homeowners, but into parking. Um, Especially because parking is still it's the Wild West still. Parking listings are, they don't have that consolidated platform. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's what we're really trying to achieve. We're trying to, make the process easy, to make the process more transparent, accessible, because we believe that parking is a huge issue, especially in the East Coast, especially in Boston. There's not enough spaces. There
Exactly.
are spaces, but they're not being utilized properly. And I think we believe that we can maximize profits for people at the same time offering services for people who would want to park their car. You mentioned
Hmm.
about real estate and digitizing in real estate. I think what do you think is the loophole right now? Where is one curve that we need to achieve in terms of digitizing for the real estate industry?
Well, if you're specifically talking about parking, um, there just needs to be more simplicity, just being able to go and still, like, in so many places, especially in Boston, where people can make money, there's an opportunity to make money for
Right.
agents on parking because it's so expensive. So taking the agent out of it, and I'm saying this as an agent, taking the agent out of it I think is really important because that's extra cost to the consumer, and that's also a cost that the seller doesn't benefit from either because
Exactly.
just the renter is paying for it. So cutting out the middleman, um, and then I think rating, just create more transparency, like you were talking about. Transparency and how good or bad is really the spot. Like maybe giving a rating out of 5 stars. I would love to see that. Maybe showing on a map exactly where the parking spot is, what it
Right.
looks like. Um, but all of those things obviously are digital, and so just more user interface for parking, more user interface for real estate in general is what we need.
That's great, and hopefully we're trying to achieve those things in the coming months and achieve those goals because we do believe that is a main concern. What do you exactly see right now in the currently in COVID times that we are in, the future of real estate? How do you think see things are going now? Where what are consumers doing? What are buyers and sellers doing right now? Where's the industry at right now?
So real estate, at least, from my experience, and I think from a lot of people's experience, and the data will show that it's not really going anywhere. Nothing's happening. Um, Nobody's buying less. People aren't really buying less. Some people are selling less,
Right.
but there's still demand, and there's still a lot of demand. But that's also, I think, because the economy hasn't gone down yet. Um, real estate is a very cyclical business.
Yeah.
In 5-year waves, usually people like to say, and um, yeah, that really creates, you know, as long as the economy is up, the real estate will be up. Um, in terms of parking spaces, though, specifically, I don't think parking is going anywhere, especially in Boston, where
Right.
there's super high demand. Any city that you look at, parking is always going to be a top priority because people have cars, and there's not a lot of places to park. Um, and it's not a huge hit to people's expenses. Buying a house is one thing, even renting a new apartment is one thing. You have to move and you have to move all your belongings, but parking, people are always going to need parking, and people are usually always going to be able to afford parking,
Right.
um, even in tough times. So I think in terms of real estate, it's more of that asset class specifically is more of a recession proof um, asset. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That definitely is showing right now, as you mentioned, that people are still buying, people are still selling, and parking's still a big issue. Parking is still something
Still
that
an
people
issue.
still want to park, still want to come into the city, and they need services, they need products that they can help them out with parking in a more easy and accessible way. So, just to conclude from here, what do you think? What do we see you doing now? What's your next goal? What are you going hoping to achieve now?
Yeah, so what I'm working on now is my next big goal is a real estate syndication, an apartment syndication. Um, so that's getting a 60 plus unit property. It doesn't have to be 60 units, but that's my goal, is to bring together a lot of investor money
Right.
and purchase a big apartment complex, probably in Atlanta, because in Boston, um, it's way more expensive.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, so that's the next goal. It's going pretty well, but it's in early stages still.
That's perfect. We wish you best of luck on your next endeavor. I hope that all comes out. I think your expertise regarding parking and real estate is really helpful to our Parkaze community. Hopefully, we will be benefiting a lot from your expertise, and we'll definitely stay in touch with you. Thank you so much for taking out your time, Will. Best of luck for what you're doing. Hope you stay safe. All right.
All right, thanks,
All right.
Shuja. Nice
All
talking
right.
to you.
All right. Nice talking to you. Bye.